Good evening, everyone. Let me welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, April the 16th, 2019. This time, if you would, please check your mobile devices if you happen to have one with you, and please turn those on silent for me. We would appreciate that. Madam Clerk, all of the commissioners here, along with the county manager and the county attorney. Let me remind you, if you come up and speak tonight, if you would activate the little microphone, it'll be the button to the right, and you'll see a red light come on at the top. Our invocation this afternoon is going to be given by the Reverend Dr. Kevin Frederick from the Waldigian Presbyterian Church in Valdez, and then after he gives us our invocation, our Pledge of Allegiance will be by the Mountain View Elementary School, where Charles Williams is the principal. So if you'll stand with me as the Reverend Dr. Frederick gives the invocation.
Let us pray. Holy God, we find ourselves this evening in the midst of what Christians call Holy Week, a time when faith confronts the darkness of humanity. Whatever our personal beliefs, we come before you now as a people with a common desire to serve our community and to serve it well. We come to recognize your presence and the needs of our county, and to ask your wisdom as we examine and address those needs. We pray the strength and guidance of your blessing for this evening with our county commissioners as they listen and make decisions. We thank you for the many public servants who serve this county and each of the municipalities within it. Keep them safe when they face disaster or peril. Empower them to bring about the justice that they are called to serve, protect, and defend. And now, be with us this evening as we seek to be guided by your wisdom in what we do and how we do it. For we offer this prayer in your strong name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. As the children move forward, I'd also like to recognize Aaron Johnson and Holly Ramsey, who is with our group today. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. If you'll just remain there, we're going to come down and take a picture with you, okay? Parents, if you're out there, you can come around front and get close and get a good picture. All right. Anybody else with pictures? Okay, would you give our group a big hand? Yeah, that really thinned us out. Do you feel lonely over there, ma'am? You can come over to the other side. All right, gentlemen, well, let's move forward to our approval of the agenda. We do have an amendment. We have the addition of a decision item number 5. It's the agreement to a grant agreement for project JP3, which is Jackson Corrugated, which is time limited. I'm sorry for the delay, but it needed to be put on with signatures so JP3 can move forward. Also, decision item number 2 for general services around concerning elevator repairs to the human services needs to be removed as let's see, somebody won't be here tonight. Miles won't be here tonight, okay. So with those 2 changes, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. All in favor signify by saying, raise your right hand, I'm sorry. Okay, it'll be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the approval of minutes. We have minutes from our pre-agenda meeting from February the 5th.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed those and found nothing amiss, so I make the motion that they be approved as rendered.
Thank you so much. We've got a motion by Commissioner Taylor. All that want to approve the minutes, please raise your right hands. That'll be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Okay, let's move to item number 6, our presentations. Our first presentation will be from the Health Department, the 2018 State of the County Health Report presented by Ms. Lisa Moore, our Public Health Director. Lisa?
Oh, public health director. Now Rebecca might get upset about that.
That's what it
Public
says
health.
here. It's okay.
Good. So, I'm here to present the 2018 State of the County Health Report, which is an accreditation requirement that we have to do in between our community health needs assessment to report on the progress of our priorities. So in the first part of the report, you notice it's a demographics section. Really not much has changed since 2017 with population, poverty, unemployment, and educational attainment. The couple of changes in the leading causes of death, other unintentional injuries moved from number 6 to number 4, which could be due in part to the opioid epidemic and drug epidemic that we're seeing within the county. Motor vehicle injuries and Parkinson's disease was previously not in the top 10 at all and has now moved into the rankings. As part of the 2016 Community Health Needs Assessment, you have to identify priorities to work on over the years in between your assessments. Our 3 priorities we identified for some in-depth work were substance use disorder, mental health, and poverty. So task forces under the Burke Wellness Initiative were designed to work on those initiatives through these 3 years. Next section of the report talks about those items that we have been working on with substance use disorder. We have accomplished a great deal in the last couple of years. After some successful community forums, there were 3 overarching needs that were identified to build resources around. First was to reestablish a drug court in Burke County with a diversion component. Second was to establish additional residential treatment options and long-term recovery support. And third were to put into place more prevention efforts in all levels of the community. So we've been very pleased with the extensive collaboration that we have assembled for those in addiction who encounter law enforcement or the legal system. So over the last year, the Health Department assembled community and governmental agencies to secure funds to implement 2 of the identified pieces we needed. The LEAD program, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, and the Burke County Recovery Court. LEAD is the a diversion program for low-level offenders, and then Burke Recovery Court is the post-adjudication end of that. As part of the continuum, jail treatment services are offered for those who have an addiction problem and results in incarceration. They are voluntarily receive treatment services while in jail and then receive recovery support and reintegration services as they transition back to the community. The last piece is that Burke County Recovery Court or Adult Drug Court. In November 2018, we received a $500,000 Department of Justice grant for 4 years to implement that drug court. This post-adjudication voluntary supervised cognitive behavioral treatment program is for offenders who have been identified as having problems with drugs or alcohol and have some conviction that is nonviolent, a DWI level 1 and 2, or a felony misdemeanor conviction. The next part of the report talks about the prevention efforts that we have with substance use disorder within the county. This section gives just a small preview of all the prevention efforts that we have that is happening. We're also very fortunate to have received the Drug Free Communities Grant, in which Burke Recovery facilitates. That grant has propelled a lot of prevention efforts within this community and trainings to reduce the drug use within the county. Our second priority was mental health. That task force has been working on a tremendous amount of training within the community with adult and youth mental health first aid, QPR, which is for suicide prevention, and CREAM, which is community resilience training. They're also working on a web-based tool for emergency responders to provide appropriate and timely resources during a mental health crisis when they come upon one. During May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, there will be a tremendous amount of trainings, education, and awareness offered for residents throughout the county. Our third priority is poverty. In 2018, Burke County hosted a successful poverty community forum. The forum offered citizens an opportunity to gather information on poverty and the effects on a community through two engaging speakers, Dr. David Burleson from the Burke United Christian Ministries and Dr. Robert Strack from UNC Greensboro. The last portion of the forum had a 2-hour poverty simulation where participants filled the roles of community agencies or family members living in poverty. The simulation depicted scenarios of what individuals or families encounter in poverty and constant challenges that they face. After the simulation, the participants and the observers were able to have an in-depth conversation about the simulation and what parts of the cycle of poverty could pose an intervention. So the last section of the report also discusses some emerging issues and new initiatives. The Burke Wellness Initiative group discussed some lacks and some things that would impact residents, like the lack of housing and lack of affordable housing, Medicaid transformation, the increase in meth and other drugs in this population, and growing homeless population. So these are the things that we will look at the impacts and interventions that we will able to address these growing concerns over the next couple of years. And that is it. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Lisa. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Lisa at this time?
Chairman, I got on my answer for agenda.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion by Scott to accept the presentation on Medicaid transformation, on the
County Health.
County Health Report. All in favor signify by raising the right hands. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Moving on to our next presentation will also be by Lisa, and that will be the presentation of Medicaid transformation and Burke County Public Health.
Absolutely. So you have those slides in your packet. I'm just going to go through a few slides for you. On slide number 2, it will talk about our public health objectives for Medicaid transformation, which are to play a vital role in Medicaid reform and clinical services without compromising our broader public health mission, maintain public health capacity and expand our role with initiatives beyond traditional health care, and to continue to meet the community needs for all persons. On slide number 4, you'll see that our North Carolina goals for Medicaid managed care is to measurably improve health, maximize value to ensure program sustainability, and to increase access to care. On slide 5, you'll see that 70% of health outcomes are tied to non-medical social determinants of health, like housing, food insecurity, and lack of transportation. So public health has been evaluating and doing these social determinants of health with our patients for as long as public health has been in business. So now the provider end of this will be doing these and assessing these social determinants of health that do impact their medical care. So this will be the change, not for us, but actually for the providers. So slides 7 and 8, we'll talk about the health department will still be providing the same services we have, including case management. Some of the services will be a fee-for-service, which is our Be Smart family planning and presumptive eligibility, where the other services will be a value-based care. On slide 11, talks about the map of the rollout dates, which we are slated for February of 2020. Slide 12 talks about the Department of Health and Human Services has awarded 4 provider plus plans and 1 regional provider-led entity that are listed. The health department is working to be a member of each one of those plans, since we are a safety net provider and we must be a member of all of them so that we will be able to see those patients when they come in. Our clients are transient and move around, so we have to make sure that we are in all of those so that they will be able to get the care that they need. Slide 13 talks about the challenges for us in public health. We are considered a provider of last resort. We cannot discharge clients based on any of their behavior or their lack of commitment to their care. We have to see them no matter what. So our lack of navigation resources for beneficiaries. Our services are not always cost-effective due to the state and federal requirements that we have, and still uncertainty moving forward with all of this transformation. So the last slide is 14. Our steps to date and moving forward is we have already implemented our electronic health record. We have focused for the last 5 years on quality improvement and performance management, and we are working very well with our clientele and also with our staff. And we play a strong, vital role in the community and social determinants of health. So, anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Lisa. Questions for Lisa on Medicare transformation?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure it's a question, but I did, in reviewing this a second time, on page 46, I believe it is, you make a comment there, and I wondered if during that comment, one of your goals was to improve health, measurably improve health, and the word measurably was the word that caught my attention. Do y'all have new directions or something on how you measure the improvements that you're doing on health, or is that just one of the goal setters and you're going to try your best to accomplish that?
Yes, because we always have measurable outcomes that we have to have anyway from the state. So when we move to value-based care, we'll have to adjust some of those measurable goals and change as it is going to be. But we won't know those until it actually gets in, and then Department of Health and Human Services decides what they want to do for those outcomes.
Okay.
So we're just going to have to wait.
I just wonder if you had X number, you had to do this, X number, so,
Not yet.
all right.
I'm
thank
sure we
you.
will.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we accept the presentation on Medicaid transformation and Burke County Public Health.
All right, you've heard the mayor's motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Moving on, gentlemen, item number 7, scheduled public hearings. We have none tonight. Moving to item number 8, informal public comments. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed? There are no public comments. All right, we'll move forward to item number 9. It's our consent agenda. At this time, I'll ask County Manager Brian Steen, if he will, to review that consent agenda. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have 8 items on your consent agenda. First is Burke County Public Schools, J.T. Russell and Sons Incorporated, change order number 2 for $23,285. Item number 2 is Burke County Public Schools Mountain View School First Amendment to Architect's Contract, $215,000. Item 3, County Manager Amendment to the Morganton's DIG Program Policies. Item 4, County Manager Proclamation declaring May 2nd, 2019 as National Day of Prayer. Item 5, Finance Audit Contract for Fiscal 2018-19. Item 6 is General Services, approved fee schedule for sale of compost. Item 7, Tax Department, tax collection report for March 2019. And item 8, Tax Department release refund report for March 2019. That concludes your consent agenda.
Any questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you have heard Wayne's motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you, Brian. Moving on to our items for decision tonight. Item number 1 is the award of the courthouse Sally Port bid that will be presented by Brian Steen, County Manager, and Marty Beal, CBSA Architects. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We conducted bids, received bids, and Marty can talk with you about that. He has verified the bid results from the other week.
You told me that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Manager, Madam Clerk. Bids were received on April the 11th for the Sallyport addition to the Burke County Courthouse. There were 5 bidders in attendance, all who attended the pre-bid conference. All bids were reviewed, they were bona fide and responsive. The low bidder for the project is Brantley Construction Services from Weaverville, North Carolina. Their low bid, total bid was $1,233,000.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the presentation by Marty. Any questions for him or Brian regarding this matter?
Mr. Chairman, Marty, can you tell us anything about Brantley? I'm not familiar with that company.
I am not, but we had provided within the contract documents that it's at the owner's discretion after the bids are received to request additional information. We have made that request from the contractor to see what their portfolio of work and similar projects. So as soon as I have that information, I will forward it to county manager.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I tried desperately. I could not locate it. I've got it filed somewhere. But I believe when we looked at this before, that Sallyport was going to run like $700 and some thousand, if I recall that correctly. But don't hold me to that. I could not locate the package that I was looking for. But we talk about the Sallyport, and we're talking about taxing the people and paying another $1.2 million added to the cost of the jail. And I understand it's a safety net and concern, but what else does that do for the taxpayers to spend $1.2 million?
Mr. Chairman, this also enables a larger vehicle to be used when we're transporting people back and forth to minimize the number of trips to and from the new jail. It also provides a secure, dedicated elevator for those people to be transported to and from the Sallyport to the courtrooms, which is addresses some safety concerns for our sheriff's department as well as the people in our custody. If they were to meet people from the victims' families of their alleged crimes. And one of the other things that was added to this was a somewhat secure parking area for our district court judges for their security will be made a part of this. So it addresses a little bit broader a swath of security issues. I am not familiar with any earlier estimations of a cost for the project. A while back before the bidding was done, I had one construction company ask me what our budget was for this project, and my response to him was the lowest responsive bid. So that is what we're trying to get to, is what the market is telling us the cost for this project is. And if you look at those, you had 1.2 million, 1.4 million, 1.5 million, 1.3 million, and 1.8 million. You had 5 companies respond to the bid, so the market is telling us that apparently the lowest cost for doing this is 1.2 million for the project. Again, you're only required to have 3 bidders, and we've had 5, so I don't know that we can do much better than that, and it be responsive and realistic.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to award construction bid and contract to Brantley Construction with the addition that we review their materials, and we are completely satisfied that this is within their good scope of work in the amount of $1.2 million, and authorize the county manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the board. Further appropriate the $1.2 million of general fund balance.
Mr. Brett, can I ask you to amend that to 1.233 total bid?
Absolutely.
All right, you've heard Jeff's motion. All in favor signify by raising the right hand. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that'll be 4-1 with Commissioner Taylor dissenting. All right, thank you so much. As we said, item number 2 has been removed from the agenda. We'll move to item number 3, which is request for qualification for needs assessment and architectural design services for the animal shelter. Brian Steen, County Manager. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Our clerk did a great deal of work on this, and I think there's some discussion at pre-agenda for us to move forward. The interest is there to do that, and we believe these needs assessment and architectural design services for the animal shelter is in the county's best interest, and as well as I believe the board was interested in seeing us move forward with this. I don't know if there's any particular questions other than issuing the request for qualifications at this point in time. Kay, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just wanted to clarify that we are asking that this be moved to your May 7th after the pre-agenda meeting to allow staff and other interested parties to interview the 3 top firms. We were very pleased to have 9 submittals from very qualified firms.
All right, any other questions or comments for Kay or the County Manager?
Mr. Chairman, I move to table this item to May 7th, recess or special meeting after the pre-agenda meeting to allow time for site visits and interviews of the top 3 firms.
All right, you've heard the motion by Scott. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 4. That will be funding for the animal shelters floors, presented by the County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We received notice from our animal shelter staff that they had an inspection and there was a requirement by the state to take certain corrective actions. This is part of that. We were hoping to be able to postpone some of this and allow us a little more flexibility, but we are not at a point where we feel comfortable in being able to do that. We would believe that it would be best to go ahead and make the corrective action. And even if we move forward expeditiously with the construction of a new shelter, I think that's probably going to be at least 24 months out from now. So I believe we would get our return on our investment and meet the requirements of the state. And again, Kay has been working on this a great deal. I've been doing a little something with Margaret for your May meeting in June, adoption of a new budget, so I apologize if I don't have a great deal of details.
Okay, any questions or comments for Brian or Kay on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple. The first question has to do with the proposal, and I understand where the figures came from, but the total proposal on his contract is $37,155, and I think the numbers came from price of floors and price of covers, and the price of the walls, which was $12,000, is not on there, and I don't see where that contract indicates that we took that $12,000 off. And obviously, we don't want to sign the contract in the form that it is. This is a good price, however, for that $25,000 whatever. It's about $7,000 better than the lowest. And then a second question had to do with pages 115, 116, and it explained that these floors and the walls, let's see, the floors were sealed in December, and the question is, were they not guaranteed? And what did we pay for that work, and do we get any of the money back? That means that those floors did not last 3 months.
Okay, let me start with the first question. With regard to the $12,000, we dug around and looked high and low and found some money. So that's why we're only asking for the part. So we will do the floors with savings from other projects. And if I am correct, and Lieutenant Massey is here and can speak to that, animal shelter staff were doing the floors themselves. Probably with,
So is the contractor, Madam Clerk, going to remain at the prices you have here if you do not include the floors? Is that correct? Or the walls, excuse me.
yeah, we will be doing everything.
Okay. And y'all have corrected this contract, or will correct it, or?
We will do the floors, the coves, and the walls. We just don't need as much money. We found some money.
So the contractor's gonna do all the work.
Yes,
It's just you found funds elsewhere.
yes.
Okay. Then how about the
Now the-
floors that were sealed in December and,
Right. And if Lieutenant Massey can address that, if I don't have it correct.
As far as the sealing of the floors, every December or January, when our shelter is low on numbers, we would shut down half the shelter. Our inmate labor would pressure wash, clean and try to seal them. And we were using Sherman-Williams, pretty much water-based sealer, and that's, in over 20 years, the concrete just had to be etched and redone because it's got 40 years of saturation in it, and it just won't hold. So as far as a contract, there never was a contract. It was inmate labor and a couple trips to the paint store.
so do I understand you bought the material and the inmates did the work? Is that
Yes, sir.
basically what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
And where did it go wrong in the labor?
40 years of putting coat on top of coat on top of coat.
Okay. All right, thank you. That answered the question.
Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appropriate $25,155 of general fund balance for grinding and sealing the floor at the Burke County Animal Shelter by Surface Concepts Incorporated.
All right, you heard Jeff's motion. All in favor signify by raising of your right hands. All opposed? Madam Clerk, number 5-0.
And just a minor clarification, that includes the walls also.
Includes the walls. All right. Moving on to our next item, and that will be a handout that was placed on your desk. That will be the amendment to the JP3 grant agreement presented by J.R. Simpson, County Attorney. J.R.?
This came before the board back in June of 2018, and since that time, the county's grant, which was to be for 5 consecutive years, based on a 50% of taxes paid on new taxable investment, we've had to move that back by a year. So we're bringing it back before the board for transparency purposes and to let you know what's going on and for your approval.
Questions or comments for JR?
Mr. Chairman, do we have a quick, some of this information got to me late. I didn't get a chance to do a little more research on this. But what were the real changes here, JR, in dollars and cents or?
No changes in dollars and cents. We just changed it from 20 through 24 to 21 through 25.
So the dates are the only thing that's changing?
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
JR, it is true that JP3 has met all the requirements under the grant as far as employment, et cetera.
Absolutely. They've hired 42 people, I think, at this point, and they were only required to hire 40.
Any other comments or questions? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the amended grant agreement between Burke County, the City of Morganton, and Jackson Corrugated LLC as presented.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, that moves us up to our reports and comments section. We will start, if that's okay. We'll start over with County Attorney, JR.
Mr. Chairman, if the board will recall that when we entered into our opioid litigation, we had a contract with the McHugh Fuller law firm and their associated law firms on a contingency basis by which they would receive 30% of any recovery that the county would receive out of its litigation. After that time, through economies of scale, they were able to bring down what they had asked us for and to change that figure from 30% to 25%. And I believe we had spoken to the board about this before, that we were actually saving an extra 5%. And somehow the contracts for the amendment never got signed, so we now have those, and I'll have the chairman sign that after the meeting. But I did want you to be aware that what we had been talking about toward the middle or end of last year, we actually now have the amendment, which really reduces the payment from 30% to 25% and otherwise makes no change in the agreement.
And we will be meeting with an update with the attorneys, is that correct?
Yeah.
And where will that be?
Charlotte? I think that's in Charlotte.
Okay.
I'd have to look back and see. So, just information.
Good news. Okay. Wayne?
No comments.
Randy?
In addition to the regular reports that you received through K, of course, I would like to report that on 3/20, some of us toured the Workforce Solutions with Western Piedmont Community College and the school boards, and a nice excursion, to say the least, and a good meal to follow. On 3/28, we participated in a legislative breakfast with Western Piedmont Community College and the legislative elected officials. On 4/13, attended the 11th District Republican Convention in Canton, North Carolina. Burke County did real good. We had 16 present for that meeting. So, and on 4/12, attended the 4-H Achievement Award presentations for the year. Of course, that was over at the Extension Office, Ag Extension Office. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Mr. Vice Chairman?
My reports have been submitted. I just want to make one comment. I'm impressed, JR. I didn't know attorneys actually lowered their fees, so that's welcome news. That's a first.
Commissioner Britton?
No comments.
Madam Clerk?
No comments, sir.
Mr. Steen?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this week is National Telecommunicators Week, and that's our 911 folks that help people when they're in desperate straits to connect with the services they need to help them out. So we want to celebrate, again, National Telecommunicators Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. You do have my reports in your package from the Burke Cooperative Water Board and the library. I would like to move back to, I've been sending y'all a number of bills in the General Assembly. I'm just overwhelmed this year that the House is already up into the 700s of bills that have been introduced, and the Senate's up into 6, which is just a bevy of bills being introduced. One of those introduced this past week was Senate Bill 538 that I have not sent to you. Just found out about it this morning from the Burke Cooperative Water Board. I want to get a hold of our legislators. This bill would force all water entities to tack a $3 service charge on their water bill to help pay for those that are not what we call viable. If you remember, I gave you all the reports several years ago from the State Water Infrastructure Authority talking about systems that were not viable and how they needed to be viable. They were just had gone under, and the LGC had taken over 17 towns because they couldn't get enough money to pay for water or sewer. So it appears that the legislature is going to tack this on, if they can get it passed, on to people that now buy water by tacking a service charge to help pay for those systems. I understand there were a number of systems because of the hurricanes down east, and I feel for those people. So there's a lot of those systems are not viable anymore. So this is probably an effort to try to help some of those, but that certainly all 100 counties and all water corporations in these 100 counties having, it started out as $1 and then it's advanced to a $3 charge. So that was something we need to pay close attention to, and I will keep you updated on that one as much as I can. I would like to give a shout out to the Burke County Public Schools. I was invited. I had made several comments about our younger generation. How did they understand what to do about monies? Does it always come from mom and dad's? Well, come to find out, the school makes a presentation at the school through the State Employees Credit Union called The Reality of Money. And over, I think, close to 700 some kids participated in this presentation at the school. I went over with the chairman and the superintendent and watched the kids go around. They were given a document saying that they were either married with children or single, or they had good credit, or they had bad credit, or some had education and some had quit school. And they would go to different stations and try to buy a telephone or try to buy a car or try to do this. And it turned out to be a very interesting day. And I want to applaud the State Employees Credit Union for doing this and working these details out. And it turned out to be a good day. And if you'll bear with me on a couple of responses from some of the kids when we asked them what did they learn. And this is 5 responses. And the first one, it's good to maintain good credit and have a budget. And the second one said, kids are expensive and so are groceries. And the third one said, without finishing high school, life is really hard. And one said, bad credit really stinks. And then the last one said, being a parent is hard. So I was just really thrilled to see the kids actually get some life experiences, and some were walking around and said, the first thing that happened with the kids, they all fluttered right over to buy a car or buy a cell phone. That's the first thing they went to. And it was just amazing to see this program work. But the learning objectives were to learn the importance of good credit and its effect on financial opportunities, the advantage of additional education after high school, and the value of a smart financial decisions to create a solid foundation for the future. But that's one of the things I went to that I just truly enjoyed. Scott, you want to mention our trip to Cleveland County?
Yes, Commissioner, Chairman Carswell and I, we went to Cleveland County, had a good meeting. There was probably representatives from 7 or 8 different counties, and had folks with law enforcement background, whether it be prison or sheriffs or whatnot, and talking about jail populations, and it was a really interesting presentation. I was impressed. I learned a lot down there. It was really good information. And so, like I said, I learned a lot, and I would encourage if they have another one of those that for our fellow commissioners to attend that, because, like I said, a lot of good information.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anything else that needs to come before the board? Okay, there is no need for a closed session tonight, so I'll go straight to the vacancy announcements. What?
Order Kate make the announcement.
I just did.
You ready?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. We have the following opportunities for citizens to get involved in county boards and committees: the Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Council on Aging, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ, the Voluntary Agriculture Board, the Burke County Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, the Western Piedmont Regional Transit Authority Transportation Advisory Board, Partners Behavioral Health Management, the Animal Advisory Board, and the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council.
All right, the last two things I want to say today is I want to speak to those that are watching us by YouTube and other means. Please have your pet spayed or neutered. And lastly, if you would pick up one piece of trash for me, I would certainly appreciate it. Now, if there's nothing else, we'll stand in recess till Tuesday, May the 7th, 2019 at 4:00 p.m. after the pre-agenda meeting. All right, gentlemen, that's it.
Hello, I'm Brian Steen, the Burke County Manager, and I'd like to introduce you to Zeke, Ty, and Chloe. They're my 3 pets, and I adopted them all from rescue agencies. I hope if you're thinking about getting a dog or a cat, you'll consider contacting our local rescue agencies and adopt one. If you have a cat or a dog, I hope you'll also consider having them spay or neutered to help us reduce the number of unwanted pets in Burke County. Whatever you can do to help us would be appreciated. And in a moment, we'll show you some contact information for both the rescue agencies in Burke County and agencies that can help you with low-cost spay and neuter. Thank you again. I hope you have a great day.